Hello, everyone, and welcome to Neon Genesis EvanGLORIO, our recap slash rewatch slash, I guess, first time watch for G of the classic 1995. I completely forgot the whole intro for that part of it, but you know what it is. It's Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Yes.
If you've been watching for the first 6 episodes, you know the deal. You know the drill at this point. And yeah, we're back after the whole for our first post Netflix episode, at least properly. Anyways, we got all of our. I think we got all of that out of our system on our emergency episode 5.5.
Yup.
Podcast.
Frankly, considering the strange and unexpected and awful ways that discourse has evolved, I feel like somehow our podcast is now even more of a strange time capsule of the immediate post Netflix era. Because, boy, have you seen some of the takes on Twitter about that show lately?
Man.
Man.
Shout out Amanda Winley, script director and voice actress for Rey in the original dub, tweeting that the fanboys need to fucking shut up.
Yes, I like that. She commented on the fact that even back then, people were complaining about the ADV dub. People now are complaining about the Netflix dub. It seems that at the end of the day, people will just truly never run out of things to get overly emotionally invested in.
Yeah, we were talking about how back then it was like, oh, you've taken too many liberties with the translation, and now the Netflix one is, oh no, they made it too literal. It's like, what do you guys want? Come on. Yeah. But yeah, I think we got that out of our system, and we can get back to actually talking about the show and not the production bits. And
I don't know, considering this trio of episodes, production wise, I think there's plenty to say about.
Well, yes.
The production that itself.
Not related to Netflix anyways.
The Gainax production.
Yes.
The Gainax production, the original.
Yes.
These are some, I talked about how some of the earlier, the episodes 8 to 12-ish range were some of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
These are arguably the best episodes, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
All right, sure. I mean, I guess as somebody who has not watched the entirety of the show, I wonder what that implies about what comes after this, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, there's actually not... Oh, well, there's still, maybe 6 episodes or something after this?
Yeah.
So...
I think these were an interesting trio of episodes. I think they do some interesting things narratively. I think that overall, I totally understand and respect where they're coming from. I'm not sure I'm so sold on them that I would necessarily go as far as say these are the best episodes I've watched of Evangelion up till now.
I think these 3 episodes, maybe not the quote unquote the best, but I feel like these episodes are the ones that most encapsulate what Evangelion kind of is.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair, and I'm sure we'll get into plenty of that later, either at the end of this episode or later on in the podcast. But yeah, let's get into the actual episodes, which conveniently broke out well this week as sort of the fourth child arc with episodes 17 through 19. They kind of all go together. And starting with episode 17, we have the fourth child, which is the title of that episode, and not children, I should add.
Indeed.
Child.
We already talked about this.
Yes. So moving on, this episode kicks off with Misato getting interrogated after the last angel fight, which, if you recall, is the one where Shinji got absorbed.
He broke out of the womb, or whatever.
Broke out of the womb, so to speak.
Great.
So the higher ups want to talk to Shinji, but Misato's kind of trying to protect him from having to, testify, I guess. And because they're concerned, well, based on the testimony, was, the angel trying to reach out and communicate, what's going on. And Misato kind of sticks to her line that, the angels...
We don't know anything about the angels.
Yeah, we don't know anything. Creatures. Yeah. She's still kind of treating them as, not necessarily intelligent, sentient creatures or whatever, more like a force of nature thing, which I'm having a harder time. I would have a harder time buying if at this stage of the game, but nevertheless, they kind of relent on that somehow. And I thought that was kind of interesting. They went to Masato and not Gendo, but I guess she was trying to stick up for Shinji or whatever. But anyway, that kind of moves on into we catch up with what's going on with Toji and his sister, which, if everyone recalls, his sister was injured in the first battle with the third angel way back in episode 1.
Yeah.
And apparently she's still in the hospital. So we're just checking in and reminding everybody that, hey, Toji's a pretty good brother. He's been checking in on her every, several times a week still. And that's still an ongoing thing. Which, funny we should be touching base with Toji, given the rest of the the event.
This episode makes it pretty makes it pretty fucking blatant. Like, they're not even kind of coy about the direction of this episode in episode 18. I feel like the way it is framed, like I had zero doubt in my mind which direction it was going.
Yeah,
there's kind of a sad inevitability building through these episodes.
Yeah. Does anybody ever at any point explicitly say that Toji is the fourth child until
they don't?
But it's so obvious.
Also, it's pretty clear.
Yes, yes. I think the intention. Yes,
right. They never have to say it. Right.
Yes, I think the intention is that you, the viewer, unless you're a fucking idiot, should realize pretty damn quickly, oh, okay, this is Toji is the fourth children, and sorry, I can't resist. That the episode is largely about kind of his emotional wrangling with it, the kind of his, yes, as Iro kind of said, kind of dealing with kind of the emotional inevitability of where this is all going. Even before we get into the stuff with episode 18, even if I did not know some of the basic plot beats of Evangelion, you can feel this kind of inevitable sense of dread just kind of building up throughout these episodes, because it's Neon Genesis Evangelion, and things are never allowed to go right. So you just know in your bones that this will cause some irreparable physical and emotional harm to everybody involved.
Yeah, and part of it is even just the directing sets the tone of
it's very somber. Yes.
Yeah, it's very somber, and you just know. This is not going to end well.
Yeah, and speaking of how things are never allowed to go well, we kind of find out right after this that there is another branch of Nerve, or should I say, there was another branch of Nerve.
Yeah. So the kind of moment of peace that they had after the last Angel fight ends abruptly as one of the Nerve branches disappears.
Yes.
And I kind of wanted to point out the different Nerve branches. This was explained in the Platinum notes. I thought it was a little confusing watching it.
Okay.
So just to clarify for everybody, Nerve headquarters is Tokyo 3. That's where the show takes place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Branch 1, the first branch and second branch are both in America.
Sure.
Got it.
So for first, and then the third branch is in Germany. That's where Asuka was at.
That's where Asuka came from. Okay.
So first branch in America was the one that developed and is currently housing Unit 3. Second branch in America was the one that was building. I don't know if they said it was complete. I think they were still building it. Unit 4.
They said Unit 4 and the S2 engine, correct?
Right.
Yes.
They tried to install the 2 engine inside of it.
Engine. And so that's the one that has now mysteriously. It doesn't even look like it was blown up. It just seems to have mysteriously disappeared.
Right. They kind of show the satellite imagery here, where the Nerve headquarters are going over, they're debriefing, and it's yo, that thing just fucking disappeared.
Yes, one shot it's here, one shot it's not here.
Right, like it's pretty neat. I do like that. It's a good like it's a good haunting like it's what Ava does well, where it's like any you could just do like like a big old angel just came here and smashed a thing up like a kaiju, but it's like nah, dude, it's just
way creepier this way.
It's like it's just not there anymore. Like it's
well, you see, G, it's a reference to the Rapture.
Oh, my bad. Right? Yes. We should take through Judeo-Christian imagery.
I can't even
in this
keep
story
up that bit for more than 2 seconds.
I can't. Like, I feel like the second now that I've, again, I'm not done with the show yet, but considering how far we are into it now, we don't have to talk about, the capital D discourse about Ava right now, but, anytime anyone starts talking big about the Judeo-Christian imagery and how that ties deeply into the thematic elements of the show, I am just rolling my eyes into the back of my skull, so...
Yeah. So, yeah, anyway, So it's that second branch, and then of course the third branch was in Germany, is the one where they had Unit 2 and where Asuka was. But
I guess it's kind of interesting. I guess it makes sense in retrospect. Of course you would split up your Ava units, because I guess theoretically the Angels could attack anywhere, right? They wouldn't necessarily just attack Tokyo 3, even though that's literally all they've done up until now.
Well. According to the notes, that they actually all got built at different facilities, and that kind of implied to me that they may not even have the resources to build multiple ones at a time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, this goes back a million fucking years ago to Asuka's debut episode, but I think I mentioned it back then, where you see what they say is the entirety of the American Navy, and it is 8 ships. Right. And that's not really a big plot point, but for someone like me, for a Kensuke like me, that speaks volumes to how depleted the material resources of a nation must be if that is literally all they have left. And so I definitely get the vibe here as well, where it's yeah, dog, we're on unit number 4 because that's all we can afford to make. It makes the Jet Alone project all that more more sympathizable in retrospect. Can you blame them? Can you blame them for trying?
Yeah. Although then Ritsuko basically says, well, after the explosion, after that disappeared, they're gonna send Unit 3 over to Japan because they don't want to blow up the other branch.
Yes.
Right.
It is a little bit of self-serving, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody can see the writing on the wall that the Angels are targeting whatever Ava units are, so...
Mm-hmm.
Right. On one hand, you can frame it as, we're gonna shore up the troops at the main headquarters. On the other hand, it's we're gonna drop off this nuclear bomb in your lap so that we don't have to take care of it anymore.
Yeah. All right. So we get some more talk about some of this new Ava technology we've heard over the past couple episodes. So they did mention Unit 4 was being installed with the S2 engine, which we'll probably get into more later. But we get quite a bit of additional information on the dummy plug system that they've been working on.
Yeah.
Which I literally had...
Right.
Go ahead, Iro.
Yeah, it turns out the giant brain that Ray was hooked up to was scanning her brain waves to make a fake pilot for the Ava.
Yes. And you know what? As fucked up as we end up seeing this turn out, I gotta be honest, I'm you know what? Again, always respect to Nerve for their hustle. This is the organization that spends money making an Ava-sized battle axe and an Ava-sized deagle, but is also working on this giant robot brain thing to, clone brainwaves of the children so that they can, pilot the robots without one of them. And it's again, respect to Nerve's hustle. They're always trying different things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the big weaknesses of the Evangelion, right? They have to rely on these unstable kids to pilot them well.
Like I said, I would question... Okay, look, I get it. Between your 3 options... Okay, if you were, the director of Nerve, and you were all right, we gotta copy one of these kids' brainwaves to, become like the central foundation of our dummy plug. And your options are Asuka, Shinji, and Rei. Like, I get that it is a bad option no matter which one you pick, but considering Rei's like general, like despite the fact that like we always look to Asuka and Shinji as like maybe the more unstable ones, I feel like Rei has kind of low key actually been the most unstable Eva pilot in this show. Like Unit Zero goes berserk. Like I feel like way more often than I guess 2 or 1 do, you know, to a certain extent.
Yeah,
like,
her track record on sync testing has not been great.
Yeah,
I mean, she's consistently the lowest, and also her Ava is like the oldest and weakest. So
right, like I'm not saying, okay, let's hook Shinji up to the big robot brain. I feel like that probably like goes in some bad directions too, but I'm just saying
red flags is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, and so but they don't want to use the dummy plug for the test activation of Unit 3. So, you know, there's one pilot candidate, but we can prepare immediately.
Time to get ourselves a fourth child.
Says. Yeah.
Yes.
For children, please.
Children.
Well, are we going to do this the whole episode?
I think we're just going to. I think from now on, I'm just going to switch intermittently between the two, like whichever strikes my mood. I
do like if you look closely at Ritsuko's like desk. Everything is cat themed.
Yes,
she's got the cat mug. She's got like a little cat thingamajig. The Kaji got her.
Yes, you did point that out to me. I thought that was a pretty good detail.
Pretty good. So yeah, so moving on, we get another bit I threw in here with a little more school life stuff. Everybody giving Asuka and Shinji a hard time for arguing like an old married couple because Shinji didn't make lunch that day.
Oh, Shinji.
Yeah.
You know, normally he's a good housewife, but you know, not today.
Look, we all can't be Shiro Emiya, you know. We can't all just.
You know, who's a better cook? Is it Shinji or is it Shiro?
Oh,
Dude,
Shiro.
It's not even close. One of them has an entire spin-off devoted to their cooking acumen. Like, all right, maybe like 2020 or 2025 or whatever to celebrate the 30th anniversary of this fucking show. Maybe they'll announce fucking Ikari's Household of Cooking spin-off. Or something.
Shinji Ikari cooking project.
Yes.
Yes, I would totally watch that. You know, and I feel like Evangelion gets spun off so many times that would probably
might as well, right?
Weirder things have happened. So there you go, folks. Gynax, if you want to get back in the black here. Stop selling tomatoes and
that money's on the table. You can send a check to the GLORIO blog at paypal.com. Again, I don't think that's actually a real PayPal account, but
yeah. So moving along, and creeping towards the inevitable here, we have another scene with Misato, and she's kind of the first to officially learn about the identity of the fourth child. They kind of, again, don't actually say it out loud for the audience, but right. You can kind of start piecing together.
Yes. There's like, whoa, him? And then the next scene cuts to Toji or something, and it's like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I forget at this point, Iro, you can refresh my memory here. Has Toji learned yet? Because at one point he gets called to the principal's office.
So I think it's later this episode.
I think that's later, actually. That's later. I think
we're still first. He has to take the papers to Rei's place.
Yeah. I think I do want to bring up real quick. I do think this is the part where I think Misato's like, "Wait, they've already found one so quickly? That's kind of convenient, isn't it?" And like. Right. Ritsuko kind of maintains the company line of like, well, the Marduk Institute has found the fourth child, and who are we to question their their candidate, right? And you kind of already get this vibe that like at least Misato anyways is beginning to realize that things are not quite on the level, that things are moving far quicker than they normally should, considering like how things have gone in the past.
And Misato is rightfully concerned about how Shinji is going to take
Also
the
that,
news.
yes.
Again, if we hadn't figured out who it was, but
Right.
But yeah, so moving along.
Go to Ray's dirty ass apartment.
Yeah, for some reason I don't know why.
Apartment.
I guess it was Toji's turn to bring the paperwork because Ray's been out floating in the brain machine.
Yes.
So
she's been dummy plugging.
Yeah,
apparently
we start we start getting Hikari popping up again for a bit. You know, seeing how oblivious Toji is, because she's like,
he's not that oblivious though. We'll see. We'll get there. I was actually gonna say, like, at the end of these episodes, I've actually really like. I mean, I've always liked Toji as a member of the supporting cast, but with these episodes, I've actually really come around on him as a character, just because, like, you know, like. Toji probably deserved better if just because of how emotionally well-rounded he is compared to everybody else in this show. Like, someone as, like, mentally and emotionally stable and normal as him, like, really deserved to probably, you know, exist in a different anime.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, we kind of got the the classic anime rom-com joke where Hikari's like, "Oh, I'll go with you to Ray." She wants Toji to invite her to go with him to drop off the paper at Ray's house, because, you know, you can't go to a girl's house by yourself. And he's like, "Oh yeah, Shinji, let's go." So
two boys going to a girl's house by themselves instead of one.
We begin to see here the beginning of Hikari's extremely blatant thirsting for Toji.
Yes. So, you know, they stop by Ray's apartment, which looks like nothing has moved or changed since the last time we saw it.
She at least like washed the blood off of her pillow.
Yes, I think the bed is not as bloody this time around. So
still an uncomfortable amount of tissues, but less said about that the better. And this time he does not walk in on Ray naked either. But
she's not even home yet.
She's not even home when they first get there. Yeah, and so Shinji takes the opportunity to clean up a bit while she's out, and she comes in, and they make the whole big deal about she says thank you to him. She's never even said thank you to Gendo.
Gasp.
And I feel like look, I'm not going to pretend I know anything about how Japanese works just because I watch anime, but I feel like saying thank you has kind of been in the same territory as, like, saying people's first name, where it has a lot more weight to it than it would in English. I don't know.
I don't know.
It seems to come up a lot.
I think with Japanese media, and again, I am neither an expert on this as well, but I think often, like this scene where Rei thanks Shinji, it is often about context and framing. Like, I think it is like, because here's the thing, I think people say thank you all the time in anime, to the point where he said, "Hey, bring up a time someone said thank you." I couldn't even tell you, because I think people do say it often enough. It's a pretty ubiquitous phrase. I think with Rei, and I think Rei, just like, you know, Asuka, right? It's the tsundere or the kudere or whatever fucking term you want to come up with, right? Is like, the thank you is considered significant in the context of that character's, like,
that probably makes more sense.
How they've been written up until that point.
Right.
So when they finally do show that, like, genuine warmth or compassion or appreciation, that is intended. I think that is where the director intends for it to be considered significant.
Yep.
I guess I've just seen a lot of anime romantic comedies with a girl swooning later thinking, "Oh my god, he said thank you to me," but that might just be, again, context. But anyway, we've been getting little hints of Rei becoming a little more humanized, and we'll kind of see that continuing on over the course of these episodes.
Yeah,
but that's kind of, you know, what we're getting at.
Not before.
Meanwhile, Gendo's hitting his joints again.
Yeah, Gendo Fuyutsuki are getting high as shit again. Getting real pseudo philosophical.
What is it they're saying here? Like,
the city is something that man created to fend off the fear of death.
It's our Eden or something. It's our man-made Eden. To abscond us of our sins. It's just like I wrote my immediate take here was that literally Mittermeier and Roenthal speak more frankly and more literally than Gendo Fuyutsuki do.
I don't know. Roenthal's a poet, man. But
well, no, he admits he's no poet.
All right, now too much crossover. I'm cutting it
all
off.
Right.
We got our allowed reference in. Let's
look. I'm just saying that if you want another couple who could maybe rival Gendo Fuyutsuki in terms of their just speaking in bullshit like metaphorical like terms.
Yeah.
Did you say that they're finally finishing the 7th phase of construction on the Geofront?
Yes.
Which, like, I guess it's that thing's still being made.
Right, because they're riding on the train looking at the city being built or whatever, yeah. So, yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know if there's much significance to that. I just wanted to mention that, again, they were out on the train getting high.
Yeah, but, like, he does say that, like, none of the other nerve branches actually matter as long as they have the Geofront.
Right. Like, that was an acceptable loss or whatever to their plans. But yeah. So we kind of skip along here back at headquarters.
The break room.
At the break room, Kaji's trying to put the moves on Maya, which I don't know if that's going to work, Kaji. I'm just saying.
You're referencing stuff later, Jel. Stop.
No, I'm just.
What are you talking about?
I'm kidding.
I don't know anything.
I'm just saying. If we're gonna rank popular Neon Genesis Evangelion ships, Maya is not typically shipped with male characters. So let's put it that way. But while Kaji's moves do not work on Maya, he does pick up Shinji, which. There was the little joke in there where he's like, I'm a boy, right? Like,
yes.
Because Kaji's like, hey, you want to hang out or whatever. So they kind of go out and have a bit of a talk. Kaji shares his secret melon patch with Shinji. That I guess everybody's got to have a hobby.
You want to see some melons, kid?
Yeah. Kaji sure loves his melons.
Yeah.
So they have a little bit of a chat. They'll have a couple chats throughout here these couple episodes, as we kind of.
I mean, I guess there's an interesting context. I guess there's an interesting context to their conversation because, like, in retrospect, I realized that Shinji and Kaji talking for the in at length for the first time is the first time Shinji has spoken to like an older male figure in this show. Period. Like in any capacity.
Right.
Because, like, the only other option is fucking Gendo, so...
Right, or, like, Air Guitar Man.
I don't think Shinji has ever spoken to that man, ever, in the history of the show. Hell, to go back a bit, like, I had to remember who you were talking about when you said Maya, because I was like, who? Oh, right, yes, the short-haired Bridge Bunny girl. Like, I literally don't know what else she has done in this show up until now, so...
Right.
But yeah, kind of let's... Sorry,
she's the one yelling the numbers out.
Yes, usually. Yeah, I just thought that led in kind of an interesting context to Kaji and Shinji's conversation. Like,
yeah, Shinji has not had a deep list of male role models. That's for sure.
Not that I would call Kaji a role model, but
yeah,
maybe as a wellspring of like perhaps somewhat like decent advice to give to.
He's not a role model, but he's been around.
Yeah,
he's seen some things. He knows some things.
And
he's friends with fake mom, so he's just like a dad.
Sure. Yes. If Misato is the fake mom in this situation, but related to that, this is also where we find out. I think this is where Misato starts. Is this happened before or right around here?
Right. Kaji drops her the hint to look into Shinji's school.
For some info, and basically what we find out is that the Marduk Institute doesn't actually exist, or if it does, it's basically just a front that's being run by Nerve itself, and that the implication is that the school that Shinji, or the class that Shinji attends, is actually kind of a containment ground for potential Eva candidates.
Right. So it was. If it looked too convenient, it probably was that Toji was the fourth child.
Yes.
So yeah, that's important to know. But
Right.
but yeah, so moving along, we kind of get our latest sync test, and we see Shinji is no longer number one. Probably
The last time he was number one, he got sucked into an imaginary space.
Yeah.
Yes, so that apparently has had residual effects on Shinji's performance since then, and we're gonna see some interesting things from Shinji, I think, over the next couple episodes, but we'll put that on hold for now.
Toji gets called to the principal's office at school to be
okay, that's when this happens.
Yeah.
So again, they don't show it, but we kind of imply strongly that this is when he finds out the news.
I do like Kensuke is back also, and is basically like, man, Shinji, you heard about all this like crazy shit happening in Nerve? Like, I heard your report blew up. I heard like Unit 3's coming over to Japan. They're gonna get a new pilot. And Shinji's like, I haven't heard about any of this.
Yes, I do love that Kensuke is somehow more in the know about freaking Nerve internal politics than Shinji. Just like,
yeah. How has like Nerve Secret Service not taken him out or something at this point? Like,
well, we just mentioned it, but
yeah, I guess we mentioned if all the kids in the class are implied to be pilot candidates, that might explain why they're giving him some leeway.
Yeah, we do have a bit here where, of course, the irony is that Kensuke is like, "Hey, Shinji, can you put in a good word for me? I want to be the Unit 3 pilot." And I'm like, oh man, just imagine how maybe how differently things would have gone if Kensuke was in that pod instead.
This entire episode is basically setting us up to be twisting the knife in the next episode in many different ways and directions, I think. One of them being, Kensuke's getting his hopes and dreams up of being an Eva pilot here.
Right.
And some of the others being tied to, Hikari, and both her and Hikari kind of start making their moves this episode.
Right.
Hikari tries to pull the old, "Hey, I made too much lunch for my family. I can start making lunch for you" trick.
See, this is where I say like Toji's not that oblivious.
Yeah, I'll say Toji knows.
He's not stupid. Like he'll play ball.
Like he was emotionally dead inside, but he still has enough awareness to be like, so yeah, you want to make lunch for me? Sure, sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is like, does he want to, especially after getting the news, does he want to keep her at arm's length? Because he does, his whole like countenance changes after he gets the news.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because he's seen what being in an Evangelion is like. He
doesn't think war is cool, unlike Kensuke.
Right. So you definitely see the before and after he gets the news, and how it affects his attitude and everything. So maybe he is trying to keep Hikari at arm's length because he doesn't want her to get hurt or something. If that's if you want to get the
But you know what? Who cares about any of that? Because what really matters here is at the end of the episode, when we see the plane flying in over the horizon, transporting Unit 3. And what better way to transport a fucking Evangelion unit than on a literal fucking cross?
Yes. So we do catch our
this is officially in episode 18 at this point.
This is at the end of episode 17.
They show it at the very end.
Okay, right.
This is the very tail end of 17. It's like the last shot of 17 is
and it
Unit 3.
I think it bleeds into 18 a little bit, but we kind of get the final shot. Unit 3, the Black Edgelord Evangelion, flying in on a cross. It's pretty great.
My fucking god! You couldn't put it on a fucking flatbed in a plane.
No, it has to be crucified and underslung on this plane.
I mean, Unit 2 was under a tarp on a boat. I mean, come on.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, they transported Unit 2 on a boat. Like, what the...
Well, you see, Genesis Evangelion has very strong religious themes.
Did it not realize those themes until episode 17? Like, back at episode... What was it? When did Asuka... Was it 8? Like...
Yeah, 8.
9?
8? First episode,
was like, back at episode 8, like... Daiki Ano had just discovered, like, the cross. I was like, oh, that's a neat idea. I should put that in later. Like, back in episode 8, he's just still like, nah, man, it's just a robot. Of course you transport it on a boat. Fucking, by the time you get to 17, he's just like, nah, man, like, I see it now. I see the truth. No, the Ava units are like, they're like, man, you know, man? Like,
they're messianic figures that need to be on a cross somewhere, right? But anyway, before we go on to 18, I want to shout out to this version of Fly Me to the Moon, the Aki Jungle version, because it's very cool.
I have just started. I'm sorry. All these fucking versions are just starting to mix in my head. Like,
this was like the Eurobeat version.
Yeah, like there was a Eurobeat version, like 12 episodes.
There's so many.
Like,
this is the better one, so everybody go check that out.
I literally
wait, how are they gonna check it out? It's not on Netflix. Oh no!
I'm sure it exists somewhere on the internet. The Glorio blog does not endorse.
I'm not going to comment on this because I didn't actually read the article. I just saw the headline. Intrepid Ava fans create Chrome browser extension that adds Fly Me to the Moon.
Yeah, I did see that.
You watch Ava on Netflix again. Chrome browser.
I also did not look at that closely, but my question is, does it match them all to the correct episodes?
I would hope so, yes. And
if you're gonna put in that much work, it better have the right version for the right episode.
I just want to say that if that's what you guys did, I want to say props to y'all for putting the work in. You did something I think that is very important for this show, so... now I hope somebody can next add in the Chrome browser extension to translate the on-screen text. And
also, I'd like to say by this point, the next episode previews have fully migrated to just pans over stills.
Yeah, thank you for giving me that opportunity, Hero.
I'm pretty sure Misato has stopped saying, I promise there will be fan service.
Fully. She has stopped promising fan service. Times have gotten rough. Like, fan service is for fun times. Fan service is for, like, when we gotta dance to kill this angel.
Can I watch Evangelion if there's no service?
Or like, I gotta wear this fat suit to go fight this angel in lava. This is for that. Now, fan service was for fun times, now we're in the bad times, and no time for fan service. But, yes, Hiro, thank you for mentioning that, because I wanted to bring up, like, obviously we have spoken of this time and time again. I feel like... However, this episode, 17, is the first episode I've watched where I was just like, how much of Evangelion as what we know about it, like, I don't know if I should say this conversation for after we talk about... No, because 18 and 19 actually look pretty good. So maybe I should just talk about this with 17. And, how much of Evangelion's reputation, right? Like think about like I don't even mean like I'm not going to even use like my straw man version of like Evangelion's reputation, but like the reputation Ava has earned in the mainstream as like, oh, Evangelion, like is this anime that starts off like this, but then it becomes this, and how much of that is like I guess how much of that was intended by the original creators versus the like grim necessity of like having to still like string together a coherent narrative despite the like very obvious like production issues that were happening. And like how much of the reputation do like many fans hold to Evangelion? How much of this like very like very emotional and like very I think overly invested like reverence for the show and what it becomes in its later parts. How much of that is, like, actually there, and how much of that is just fans reaching really hard for a show that, like, started to really fall apart production-wise?
That's a very interesting question, because I don't think there's a black and white answer to that, of course, because I do think there is an intentional shift in the tone of the show.
Oh, of course. I think that is...
But when you're talking about... and I think this will, again, I think it's good we start asking this question now, because we're going to start seeing the difference, or if we haven't already. Like you said, 18 and 19 look great, and I will point out, I think 18 in particular was one of the couple episodes that they really had production IG helping on. That was in the Platinum notes. I don't think I put it in our notes, but just going to mention that in there. Right. So they did but I
mean, they needed all the fucking help they could get. I mean,
yeah. So yeah, I don't think I can give a complete answer to that right now until the show is over. But
sure.
I think there's a little bit of everything. There's a little bit of truth to everything that you're saying in there, as far as I do think there's an intentional shift in the show, but I do also think maybe the fan perception is further off base than was intended because of some of the circumstances around the production or whatever.
Right. Because, I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, I mean, thanks to a certain tweet that I wish I could remember who tweeted it. It was Arrow. You found it, right? It was like, was it like the
I don't know which one we're talking about.
The unlike other mecha anime tweet.
The one that was like.
All right, whatever. The point is, there's a tweet that in like 4 words, like immediately encapsulated my feelings about like the mainstream and often the less informed about the mecha genre.
The one that was like. Is it the one that was like, everyone like stop complaining about the Netflix discourse because otherwise people will start saying, oh, unlike other mech anime, Ava is X.
Yes. Like it's going to distract people from that discourse, right? Anyways, yes. So the phrase "unlike other mecha anime," I think in 4 words alone, completely encapsulates my feelings about the often mainstream and less informed takes on Evangelion as a show, which I think often stem from this like. You know, unlike other mecha anime, Evangelion does X, Y, and Z. You know, except
there's like the perception that it is. I mean, it is not necessarily incorrect, but that's like when I see people talking about Evangelion, they're talking about how it's like a great character drama, and we'll spend time like really deep diving into the characters. And while I will agree with that, also. I don't think you can deny that, like, with this episode, the past couple episodes, that a lot of the tonal, like, standing around and talking while tonally consistent with the show is also driven by, we have half as many frames in this episode as earlier episodes.
Right. Like, because, I mean, here's the thing, like, time and time again, you know, I see the take that's like, you know, unlike other mech anime, Evangelion makes the genius himself, Hideki Anno, makes the bold narrative choice to reduce the show to just talking heads and stark backgrounds.
All right, that's how you said you wouldn't strawman that hard.
Oh, because here's the thing. I think, you know, yes, maybe I'm strawmanning a bit, but also here's the thing. I have read plenty of articles from places like The Verge and Vox that have literally said that word for word. And, like, these are not tiny outlets. These are large mainstream media outlets who, like, are communicating this message to an audience of thousands or hundreds of thousands. And they are, like, falsely claiming that, oh, like, you know, the production falling apart halfway through was a genius creative choice by Hideki Anno. It was intentional. Like, what a genius he was. Like, what a bold choice.
Okay, so I want to throw one counterpoint in here, and I'm not saying I'm asking the question. I'm not giving an answer. At what point can you not hold people accountable for not knowing the context? And at what point does perception become reality? I guess. You know, like, you know, can we expect your average person watching Evangelion to know that the back half had, you know, production troubles? Kind of in the same way that, you know, can we expect somebody to know that, you know, a lot of the emotional depth and meaning of Evangelion really stems from, you know, Anno's struggles with depression and not, you know, crazy religious symbolism or whatever other stuff is going in there. So, like,
I mean, I think I would
again, I'm not providing an answer. I'm asking the question.
I totally get you. And I'm not going to act like I have the answer to that because, you know, I I don't like to. I don't want to gatekeep, right? I don't want people to be. I don't want to say like, oh, like blah blah blah, like you can't appreciate this work unless like you know X, Y, and Z. I guess like for me, it's like I don't mind if like. I guess I've never minded if that's the perception fans take away from like these works. Like if you're a fan of Evangelion and you truly love it and you truly think that like it's the most original mecha anime ever, that no other mecha anime has ever done any of the things that Evangelion has done, like so be it. Like you are free to enjoy your ignorance. Like it is not like, you know, harmful or like offensive. I guess I've always just kind of bristled at like, especially now in this kind of post-Netflix era of Evangelion we live in, where I'm beginning to see these, like, you know, mostly from mainstream outlets, these very, like, you know, heady think pieces about the show that, like, are coming from people who clearly have never, like, immersed themselves in the rest of the genre, you know? Like, you know, I have literally seen the line from, like, I don't know if it was, like, The Verge or Vox or, again, one of those mainstream outlets that was, like, you know, unlike other mech anime, like Transformers and Gundam, which star Rock'em Sock'em sentient robots with no, like, political messages whatsoever, and I'm just like, I want to strangle that person, because that person has clearly never watched fucking Gundam in their life, if they're going to, call a robot sentient, and B, like, say that there are no political messages in that show, like,
isn't that literally the "Wow, cool robot" meme thing?
Yeah, yeah, like that. These writers are literally living up to the "Wow, cool robot" meme, like while at the same time acting as if like Evangelion is the first mech anime that has ever like been introspective in the entire history of the genre. And like it is when those people who have audiences, people who, you know, look, maybe I have unrealistic expectations of journalism, but have like, you know, the obligation to communicate like accurate information to an audience, like when those people are spreading these kinds of like this kind of like misinformation, that is where, you know, I fucking smash my head against the wall like Unit Zero.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah. Again, I think it's good we ask those questions now and think about them as we enter the final stretch of the show here. But we'll definitely be touching on that more throughout the last couple episodes of the podcast for sure. But yeah, we still have 2 episodes to talk about now.
Oh, geez, yes. We still have 2 more episodes to go through. So let's
episode 18 starts with Unit 3 on a cross being flown into Japan.
Yes.
And we get some like surprisingly good English from the American staff.
Yes.
My understanding is this English was recorded by in-house Gainax employees. There was a Westerner doing like in-house translation, and his friends and his wife also did the English, which is why it sounds like native speakers.
Okay. I was about to say, as Iro can attest, I literally said, wait, hang on, I think I forgot to switch the audio to Japanese before I realized, oh no, they're actually talking in English in the Japanese audio track.
Yeah. So, yep, we kick things off with episode 18, which is titled Ambivalence, or the Choice of Life.
Yes.
We get a little bit of a moment here with Misato and Shinji back at the house catching up. I feel like they haven't been together in a while. Misato mentioned she's going to be... Well, they kind of... Shinji asks all the stuff that Kensuke was talking about. Like, oh, did Branch 2 really disappear? Is there going to be another Eva pilot and all that? And we kind of set up the recurring problem here with Misato not being able to bring herself to tell Shinji who the 4th child is.
Right, like this has been a plot line since the last episode as well, where like I think it's mostly just Ritsuka being like, so are you gonna tell Shinji yet? And Misato's just like, after that, like she keeps pushing it, she keeps like passing the buck, right?
She clearly doesn't want to do it because she knows he's gonna freak out.
She's like about to tell him, and then Kensuke kicks the door in and says, "Make me the pilot of Unit 3."
Right. I guess Kensuke does kind of ruin that, which oops, oh well. I did write in this because I don't know if they've said it or have they explained it, or is this something that's coming in a later episode, but what is the S2 engine? Because I don't know if they ever. I don't know if I missed it. Did they ever actually explain?
They have not
what it
explained
is?
exactly.
We can talk about the next episode when it's a little more important.
Wait, no, I don't think even in episode 19
Yes,
do
it
I
is.
know.
Well, that's
they
when
don't-
it'll become relevant for us to talk about it.
Okay, fine. That's fine. If it's not something I should know yet, then that's fine.
They
I just
have
cannot
not.
remember if
They have not
explained.
explained exactly what it is yet. They just
Okay.
mentioned it as a thing that exists.
But yes, we return to the classroom. I guess we didn't really mention it in the prior podcast, but Asuka also finds out who the fourth child is.
Right. She sees it on Kaji's monitor.
Yes, well, when she's trying to put the moves on Kaji, kind of poorly, might I add, she reads the monitor, and so...
at least Kaji's not a pedophile.
Great.
We'll give him that
yes,
much.
the extremely low bar we have set for our characters here. But yes, so that has kind of also kind of caused a shift in Asuka's mood as well.
Yes. Yeah, which is kind of interesting because you don't often think of Asuka as a, sympathetic or even caring about other people or whatever at all, but her mood does also shift. And we
Asuka just expresses it through shouting loudly at people. So
yes. Toji, on the other hand, we kind of already mentioned it earlier, but his mood does completely shift.
Yes,
and we kind of see him acting very distant and detached.
Yeah, he's hanging out on the rooftop, as cool anime kids do.
He talks to Ray.
Yeah, Ray's here.
Well, Ray talks to him. Ray actually goes to find him, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was going to say, is this the first time Ray has actively sought out another person to speak to other than, maybe Gendo? That's...
Well, this is the, what I was saying, we start seeing the hints of her becoming more, quote-unquote, normal, I guess.
I do like this, though. I do like their conversation a little, just because, it does give a little bit more, a few more wrinkles to Ray's character.
I mean, yeah.
Right, she's, we keep giving Ray, and more so Ray fans, a hard time for her being the emotionless doll or whatever.
I mean, look, can you blame me?
Yeah.
No.
Look at her characterization up until now,
yeah,
rightfully so.
We have on paper notable characterization. She smiled at the end of episode 7. She talked shit to Asuka that one time. She said thank you.
She said thank you to Shinji. Yep. So that's
literally
pretty much
it.
And now she actually went to try to talk to Toji.
He's almost expressing concern for him in a way.
But he throws her off by saying, it's not like you to care about other people. You only care about Shinji.
Right.
Yeah. A weird line to throw out there in the middle of this conversation.
Nobody in the show knows how to talk to other people, is basically what it comes
I guess you're
down
right.
to.
It's maybe the one time in Toji's entire time on screen where he has done something less or more antisocial than I would assume from a guy like him, who is otherwise seems like the most well-rounded guy in the cast.
Well, that seems to be, like we said, the shift where he's being
that's
distant.
That's just what being an Ava pilot does to it. It makes you emotionally distant and unstable.
Yes, that's
you don't need to be unstable to be an Ava pilot. Being an Ava pilot makes you unstable.
Is that the implication here? You don't even have to get into the robot yet. Just the very nature of becoming one, causes changes causality in the spectrum of reality itself to change you into a more dour, emotionally distant, unstable individual.
That's the proof doesn't lie on this one. But
shoe fits.
The shoe fits. But yeah, so we have
I want to highlight a quick gag here.
Okay.
So every time it cuts to the classroom, it's that same old teacher, and every this was in the first few episodes too. He's only ever talking about Second Impact,
right? And he's only ever talking about Second Impact in relation to personal anecdotes.
He's the only fucking lesson he gives is about Second Impact every time.
It like it almost leans into it further leans into the realization that like, oh, this class isn't really a class. This class is a holding pen for like potential Ava pilots. So like it doesn't actually even really matter.
Keep hammering home how bad Second Impact was and how we're Third Impact.
Yeah. All right, so we get
go ahead.
We get a couple more scenes kind of leading up to the more intense stuff later, but we get Hikari going to Asuka for relationship advice, which seems like a bad idea to me. But
all right, Hikari, you want to get your man, you should tackle him from behind, keep clinging to him.
Yes. In the list of people, like if I were to stack rank like the top 10 or the top, not even the top 10. Fuck, I couldn't even put together a top 10. The top 5 like people in Evangelion I would go to for relationship advice. Asuka would be like number 15, and I don't know if I can even name 15 Evangelion characters. Like I would put air guitar guy above Asuka for going to relationship advice for.
Put the third angel over Asuka for relationship advice.
No, what's the one that splits? That one's must have a good relationship if it's actually 2 people.
Sure.
Like, I don't even know. You know what? I can't even tell who was going to be number 1. I can't. I was about to say Misato, but no, hell no, God no. Misato would give awful relationship advice. She doesn't even
like. Yes, but would it be the least awful of the cast?
I mean, I think. Okay, here's the thing. Real talk. I think. In all seriousness, knowing Misato's character, I think Misato, like, if you asked her for relationship advice, Misato would give the kind of advice that's like, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, she might give good advice, but just be very bad at following it.
Like I think Misato logically knows, like, she rationally knows, like, what a good relationship looks like. She's just emotionally incapable of realizing that for herself.
Yeah,
that's probably fair. And so then we also get, if we want to talk about poor decisions here, I guess they asked Kaji to babysit the kids while Misato is off on his test.
Yeah, we need a responsible adult to watch the kids. Because
first of all, they like I don't know why they need a babysitter all of a sudden. I don't know if like word got out they were making out the other day or something. But
yeah, I was gonna say, like, frankly, like Asuka and Shinji, like, I mean, barring their extremely dysfunctional relationship, I think seem, for the most part, mature enough to take care of themselves.
They're
like, I mean,
self-sufficient.
wasn't Shinji basically living by himself before the show? Like,
with his like future or something.
Yeah, but like that barely counts. I mean, like, I feel like, and fuck, isn't Asuka supposed to be an anime super genius? I'm sure she can fucking handle, like,
cooking.
I'm sure. You know what? I'm sure if she can't cook, I'm sure she's smart. She can use that anime super genius skills to walk to the local 7-Eleven and get yourself a bento or something. So
do they have DoorDash in Tokyo 3 yet?
I mean, it is what
2015, so it's a couple years. Couple years early for DoorDash, I think.
I think some of the other ones would have been. I think some of the other services. I remember in college I was using DoorDash. So
in the big, like maybe like Postmates or something in the big cities. And Tokyo 3 is a big city, right? So
yeah.
Anyway,
Asuka makes it clear that she knows who it is, but then refuses to tell Shinji.
Yes.
Everybody being kind of a fucking dick this episode.
I mean, I can get why you wouldn't want to tell him, but I feel like not telling him is worse than telling him.
Okay, so maybe before we get to that moment, because we're clearly getting there. So after the events of episode 18, we understand why maybe people didn't want Shinji to know who the fourth child was. But prior to that, I guess I'm kind of struggling to understand why everybody is so hesitant to tell Shinji that Toji is the fourth child. Like prior to everything going wrong, like before things have gone wrong, what?
I mean, think about what
Shinji for.
Think about what piloting the Evangelion means to Shinji and how he would feel about his best friend having to do it. I guess.
But like, he already pilots with Asuka and Rei, people that he is not exactly friendly with. He like holds an emotional investment in.
Yeah. I just think that was, I mean, because that was a thing that was already in existence. prior to him being a pilot, though, right? Like,
I guess
I don't
so.
know.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to figure look, once everything's gone wrong, I definitely understand. I guess for me, it's like before everything has gone wrong. Like, I kind of figured, like, I don't know. I guess I'll always be a Kensuke at heart. I guess I'll just like my mentality, like, oh, good, another ally. Maybe somebody else can carry some of this horrifying emotional burden for me.
Yeah, but I think that's in line with
that's not really Shinji's character.
Yes,
right?
yes, I know.
Shinji as like as far as I think it's much worse not telling him than telling him. I would still want to tell him, but it's not so bad where I would feel like I would have to keep putting it off and putting it off. But like I would understand why he would be upset, but perhaps not as upset as he'll be by the end of this episode.
Yes.
So we finally get
conversation with Kaji when they're in the bedroom.
Yes. We kind of end that bit with Kaji and Shinji trying to go to sleep, and Shinji asks about what's my dad like, and Kaji gives this
nobody can truly understand each other.
Yes.
Right. Kaji's trying to sound way more wise than his years, just like
right.
Nobody can understand each other, man. I mean, I'm not even sure I understand myself, And it's just like, oh, please.
He's doing his best.
Yeah. I mean, joking aside, he's probably not wrong in what he was saying. It was probably pretty solid advice. But
his endpoint is like, that's why we all need to keep trying to understand each other, or whatever.
Right. I know Kaji's eventually trying to spin this into a positive message. I guess just considering fucking who Shinji is, like, I just don't see it ever working, so...
Yeah. Well...
Yeah, and so, time for Unit 3 as Unit 3's activation test.
Yeah, they start to test Unit 3. Unit 3, and it's very human eyeballs.
Yeah, so, I feel like, in general, these sync tests have very low success rates.
Oh, yeah, I don't fucking know why they bother. I feel like these sync tests often go about as disastrously as, like, fielding the Ava themselves.
This is probably the worst one. I'm comfortable saying it's the worst one.
Worst it's ever been. I think that is pretty safe to say.
So they sync it up. They pass all the we see all the normal syncing up graphics.
Yeah, we see that at least initially, Toji manages to pass the threshold. What's it called? The threshold. So it seems like everything's going great. Yeah, and then the Goop Angel shows up.
Yes. So things go very wrong. The Evangelion starts freaking out, and we don't immediately know why, but we can probably figure it out. Conveniently, I wanted to mention that Misato and Ritsuko are not here. They went off to some other test thing or something, and Gendo is in charge.
They're close enough to like be at the test. They're at the test facility.
They are the test facility,
right? But they're not at the command center calling the shots, basically.
Right. As far as we know, they blew up with Unit 3.
Yeah.
Right.
At least that is the implication. When, Unit 3, we start to see some, like, goop coming out of it. It doesn't look good. Unit 3 opens its mouth. It's like, what's up, y'all? And then explodes.
Yeah. So, point is Gendo is in charge now.
Yeah, for once.
Gendo is in charge of this operation. And we see exactly what happens when Gendo is the one calling the shots.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, hey, sortie all Avas to fight the thing.
Yeah. So... we officially classify now the 13th angel as appearing. It is, for all intents and purposes,
like an Ava unit.
It is, for all intents and purposes, Unit 3, but in reality, it's as G said, it's basically some goop that took it over, right?
I mean, it's literally the nanomachines from that Ritsuko episode, except, like, instead of a computer virus, it's an actual virus, I guess.
Right, you see, like, the actual, like, goo attached, like, sealing in the entry plug, right?
Yeah, they do that thing, yes. They try to eject the entry plug, and then this fucking asshole angel knows the fucking score. and blocks the eject port.
Yeah. So Gendo being in charge, he sorties all three Evangelions, and does not go well for Asuka.
She gets owned off screen. Gets her ass beat off screen. We don't even get to see her fire her Ava-sized bazooka.
And is this the part where she has like all the weapons and everything, or does that happen?
No, she's got her bazooka and like.
Yeah, so this one,
Shinji's like, oh, man, I wonder who's in it. And she's like, you still don't know. Gets cut off.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
So she's the first to go down, and Gendo tells Rei to try to engage it at long range, right, or something like that.
Yeah,
but she can't. She knows too. She knows too that Toji's in there.
Yeah, and Rei here, she actually hesitates to pull the trigger, and that's long enough for the 13th Angel to own her ass too. So,
so she gets incapacitated, and Shinji finally gets a visual on it and realizes that it's an Evangelion. And before he even knows it's Toji, he's like, "Well, if that's an Evangelion, there's probably another kid in there, and I don't want to kill this kid."
Yeah.
So. He's not going to take the shot either.
Like they have to, they have to jettison Rei's arm as well.
Yes, because it's getting infected by the
goop. Right. So Unit 0 loses an arm. Unit 0 has a tough time in this show, man.
Unit 0. I mean, look, I keep saying it, man. Like Unit 0 at all times. Unit 0 doesn't do fucking jack shit in this show, other than.
So Rei couldn't take the shot. Shinji can't take the shot, but Gendo sure can take the shot.
Yeah. So to kind of clarify, Shinji doesn't want to take the shot, and as a result, the 13th Angel gets into range and starts strangling the fuck out of Shinji.
Got some stretchy arms.
Yes, it's got its super stretchy arms. It's
Piccolo arms.
Yeah, it's Piccolo arms, and. Gendo and everybody at Nerve's like, Shinji, you gotta fight back. You're going to die. And Shinji's like, I'd rather die than kill another person. And then Gendo's just like, man, fuck this shit. All right, turn on the dummy plug.
Activate fake Rei brain.
So,
good thing Rei has synchronization with Unit 1.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So they turn the dummy plug system on because Shinji refuses to fight. Which puts Unit 1 in, I guess, autopilot at this stage.
Into a kill mode.
Yes. And it's not a pretty fight.
I love this.
I'm sure you love it, G, but it is not a pretty fight.
No. I mean, yes, it's not pretty, but I loved the scale and the theatrics and the impact of it.
It's extremely brutal.
Yeah, it's
unpleasant.
It's unpleasant as hell, but it's I guess the reason why I love it is because you can so clearly tell what Anno was going for with the vibe and thematic elements of this fight, quote unquote fight. More like a fucking curb stomping than anything, and I think the animators and the animation directors and everyone visually have succeeded so well at I hate to use this word because it shows up all the time in game reviews, but it's so visceral. You just
there's literally viscera flying around.
There are Angel or Unit 3 bits just fucking flying off and crashing into the mountainside, just pulsing bloody pieces, and it's
everyone in the control room just slack jawed
and disgusted, and it really ties back to that line Asuka had a few episodes ago where she was like that's what we're piloting.
Literally have a shot of the river running red with blood.
Yes. I've said it time and time again that what Evangelion does is take the age-old metaphor of the giant robot as the monster and makes it literal and not just literal physically, but literal emotionally and mentally, right? the way that Unit 1 acts in the scene, right? Like it goes beyond just like, oh, it's tearing up like something fleshy. It is ripping apart something fleshy in the way only like, an animal can, and it's like, it's magnificent. I love
this. Didn't you say this bit was also Gainax's young ace, Yo Yoshinari?
Yes, Yoshinari. Yes, so me as the Trigger stan will happily point out that yes, Yoshinari key animated several key points of this fight, and in fact, I could say that for a lot of scenes. I haven't said it a lot because like I don't remember every single one that Yoshinari's done, but if you look up the credits, think of any time Evangelion has ever looked good. I would say, well, I'm not even joking. If you go to like the Sakagaburu and look it up, like Yoshinari's credits for Evangelion, just the TV series, like every single time the show looks good, I would say there's a solid 3 out of 5 chance that Yoshinari contributed to it in some like major way.
Well, we talked about the last time we mentioned Gainax's young ace Yo Yoshinari was the first time Unit 1 goes berserk.
Yes.
So,
right.
kind of a similar...
Yes. Yoshinari, he's quite good at... Spoilers, he turns out that dude is quite talented.
Yeah.
Misato wakes up. Turns out she and Ritsuko are fine. All those nameless scientists, though, fuck them.
Oh, they're fucking hella dead.
But she just time to call Shinji on the radio, and for Shinji to see that the 4th children... This is Toji.
They
so
scream, cut to credits.
I will say, yes, I guess the thing is that the twist, quote unquote, is he survived, because before that, I want to say that the key moment of, I think, this scene, this fight, right, is like, there is, of course, Eva 1, like, brutalizing Unit 3, like, that in and of itself is, that, and of course you hear Shinji screaming on the radio over and over again, begging Gendo to stop it.
Right.
And where this goes from, so here's the thing, I don't know if I want to get into this now or maybe after episode 19. I want to talk about, like, the thing I've really loved about this string of episodes is kind of, like, the sense of desperation you feel from Nerve and the characters as a whole in this show. Like, I don't mean to justify Gendo's actions in this episode. I don't mean to exonerate it or even claim they're remotely, like, morally, like, defendable. But what you can feel in the bones of this show is like, what do you expect? What else can they? What else do you want them to do? Like, nothing
They do not
works.
have a lot of options.
Like, the guns don't work, the axe doesn't work, the deagle doesn't work. Like, our pilots are unstable and unreliable. Like, the robots, the things we're fighting don't even look like fucking monsters anymore. Like, what do you expect us to do? Like, we have no options left. And so I'm not trying to act like, Gendo made the hard choice, but it's like, maybe Gendo made the only choice they had, right? And
because when Shinji's like, I'd rather die than kill another person. Yeah, I think that's a choice you can make, but everybody else is going to die too. Like, what else
right.
you can
exactly.
do? And
it's
I think that's why, even the title of the episode is Ambivalence, where
right.
like, when you're ambivalent, like, you don't feel great about either option, right? Like, it's but that's all you got.
And that's kind of what I felt about this episode, and even episode 19 is like, I kind of love that, like, the characters in this show are not doing bad things. I mean, they're not doing bad things just because they're bad people, as often happens in, like, less nuanced fiction. They're doing bad things because they're lost and desperate, and they don't know what else they can do.
Right.
But that said, the key moment of this fight that I think takes this from, like up until this moment, I was like, well, Gendo made the hard choice. But where this goes from making a hard choice to, like, what borders on, like, abject cruelty is when Gendo still does not disable the dummy plug when Unit 1 is holding the
entry plug
of Unit 3 in its hand, and, like,
just
crushes it in its hands.
Doesn't he even, like, smirk at some point?
Yeah, he smirks when the thing gets crushed. Like,
yeah.
Like that is where for me, like I felt in my gut, like initially I was like, this is rough to watch, but like this is also like, it's a tagline of Pacific Rim: to fight monsters, we created monsters. These are the monsters we created. But then this goes into like this kind of abject, almost unnecessary cruelty when Unit 3 is clearly in no fighting condition.
Been torn limb from limb.
Right. To quote The Simpsons, stop, he's already dead. Like.
Yeah. Well, I think, this. I think they still want you to think Gendo's a bad guy, right? Like,
Yes.
So,
and I guess that scene had to exist to prove like, oh, Gendo isn't just making hard choices. He's also making cruel choices.
I think I kind of interpret that as Gendo has kind of, how would I put it? He's kind of made himself believe that he has to be this monster, right? That's kind of, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not going to say it's not like it's playing a role or something, but like he's accepted this role and he's going to, play it to 100% or whatever.
Right.
But and also I think there's some implication that he has other objectives with this all happening.
Of course, yes. I'm sure in some roundabout way, like
I don't know if he's really like delighting in the human suffering of this, more so that his plan, it's all according to Keikaku, right?
Yes.
But yeah. Either way, that's where it goes from making a tough choice.
Got the dummy plug working, yay!
Right. Well, I mean, they got the dummy plug working with, as I wrote down in my notes, just because it's a good bit of technobabble. 32% emotional elements are unclear.
Yes, when it syncs up, yeah.
Yes, so
that's acceptable. Well, so long as it connects, that's all they need.
Yeah, and so
68 is a passing grade.
Kind of go straight into episode 19.
Yeah,
we're like,
we should just right into it. Yeah.
Like Shinji's still hooked up in the Eva, and he is not happy about having Unit 1 butcher's friend.
Like Shinji starts like shouting and like. Like to lead back to like the earlier conversation, I am glad that you have people like Maya and like other nerve people that aren't Gendo that are like we had no choice, like we had to do this, and of course like Shinji, I think is in his right to still be angry, of course, like even if he did not commit the act, his quote unquote body was used to commit it. If we're going to use the like mechs as a metaphor for our bodies, like reading.
I mean, they do feel like everything that's going on, right? Like.
Yeah. And, like, I do kind of love, though, that, like, Gendo's just like, man, this fucking kid, increase LCL density.
Right. Just knock him out.
Yeah. But
I don't know. I got a laugh out of that.
That was pretty good. He was pretty pissed, though. He's like, I got enough time left in this thing to destroy half of headquarters.
I really like that line of, like, I have 3 minutes power, that's enough to destroy half of headquarters. Like,
yes. Like, Shinji is angry. Like, and, like, I think we've said it time and time again, Shinji is the kind of kid who, like, just because of, like, I don't know, his environment and, like, who he is as a person, like, he is the person who, like, he bends over backwards and he takes it and he takes it and he takes it until he can take it no longer. And then
he just explodes.
And then you get the Shinji that's like, in 3 minutes, I could fuck you up all real bad. Like, fucking try me.
Yeah, and we'll see
more of that later this episode.
Yeah. So, Gendo puts an end to that, like you said, G, by knocking him out via LCL there. But we move along and kind of see the aftermath of the fight.
Right. The cleanup crew for cleaning up the wreckage of Unit 3.
We talked about Viscera. There's
it ain't pretty.
Unit 3, there's massive amounts of blood splashed everywhere.
Yeah.
You can just feel the
His house was crushed by a hand.
Yeah. Kind of getting back to like my early days of talking about the physical. The mechanical physicality of this show, like just like you can feel the scale of these fights in a very real way that I think really speaks to the accomplishments of the Gainax crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toji wakes up in the hospital.
Yeah. So Hikari visits Toji, and
after he spends like a couple. Oh dear.
evacuate to their designated shelters immediately. A special state of emergency has been declared for the Tokai region.
An angel?
Okay, we're back. Some slight technical difficulties here. I don't think there was any smooth ways for us to salvage that, so we're just gonna do a hard jump back in here.
Yeah, the podcast went berserk. We lost control.
Yes, so we've
activated the dummy plug so we can keep going.
Yes, we are in fact. All three of us speaking are in fact just copied brainwaves of the original Gel, Iroh, and G.
Yeah.
Continuing this podcast.
You can go visit our real bodies in the hospital.
Anyway, episode 19. Toji's in the hospital. He lived, and he falls asleep and wakes up in like Shinji's weird orange train car, mental world or something, where he's speaking to Rei.
Yeah.
So how do you guys interpret that bit?
Really good question, Gel.
I didn't think very hard about it, quite frankly. I was just like, this is just more weird Ava shit. But,
what do you think, Iroh?
I don't know what obviously the train is some kind of like personal mental, it's the Velvet Room, right? Like,
look, for me, all right, in all seriousness, I've always viewed, because Evangelion is not the first anime and not the last anime, not even the first or last piece of media to do this type of like storytelling, like the storytelling framework. And I have always just assumed that like on a diegetic level, scenes like these are meant to be like metaphorical, like they don't necessarily even exist within the show themselves.
Yeah.
They kind of exist as a like.
Yeah. I feel like this is the first true abstract bit we've seen in the series, because even when Shinji was like in the angel, like you could that was still like in Shinji's brain, right?
Like Shinji inside the angel, I feel like that was still in the show. Moments like these, I almost prefer to see as like almost weird, like what's the word? I
mean, we do know Anno's friends with Ikuhara, right? So.
Right, almost like intermission, like almost like intermissions of a sort, like an acknowledgement by the work itself that this is like does not necessarily exist in the work itself.
It's an abstract thing,
yes.
Right? So yeah, and this would be a very Ikuhara move. Yeah. So just saying.
But anyways,
So go ahead, Iroh.
Shinji goes off on like how he kept trying to understand his father, but his father doesn't try to understand him at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And, is that kind of just it? And then Toji wakes up?
Yep. Toji wakes up. Hikari's there to make sure he's okay. Although from the shot, we could tell he was missing a leg.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad that's what was going on there.
They go to the wide shot, and you can kind of tell he's not okay.
I do appreciate they don't just fucking say it.
Yeah.
They just show the blanket.
Right, they just kind of leave you there to like kind of stew in the scene. It's
they don't do the melodramatic phantom limb thing, right? And just
I mean, fucking whatever, dude. Like,
it's been 9 years.
Like, I'm sure, like, they have pretty advanced cybernetics in that world. Like, if they can
grow an Ava, they can grow a limb.
I've always maintained, and not just in Ava, in any mecha setting. If your technology is sufficiently advanced enough to create a mobile humanoid giant robot, I guarantee you your technology is also advanced enough to make like
bionic arm,
like bionic limbs.
Right.
So,
I mean, even in today's technology, we're getting close to having not fully functional replaceable arms, but we have options.
The point is, Toji's going to be fine, and look, if he plays his cards right, he might even like get like a machine gun installed in that leg. So.
Anyway, so
Shinji gets put in triple cuffs and dragged into his father's office.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's still pretty mad.
Yeah. Gendo tries to throw the book at him, and Shinji's just like, nah, fuck you, I quit.
I really like the end of this bit where Gendo tries to pull the "I'm disappointed in you" to make Shinji stay, And Shinji
like,
has none of it.
Right, like Shinji has just completely run out of fucks to give
Like
about
you
like
get
Gendo's like I don't expect we'll ever see each other again, and Shinji's like, that's the plan, buddy.
right, but like Gendo is saying these specific lines to try and keep him there.
Right, because like that's the problem. That's who Gendo is. Like Gendo,
right? Like when he said,
Shinji,
like when he said, like when he said a while back, like "Good work, Shinji." This like calculated lines to string him along.
Right, like that's the thing. Like even now, you realize that Gendo needs Shinji, and like, but also Gendo himself is such an emotional fuck up. He cannot even just bring himself to be like, "My bad, I fucked up."
Right. He's got to try to do this reverse psychology thing.
Right,
and
like he's got to do this like
backfires.
Yes, and so Shinji kind of prepares to walk away from there from good. Runs into Masato.
There's a lot of parallels in this episode
with
to
episode
the
4.
first time.
Yeah,
episode 4, the first time that Shinji tried to quit, and it's interesting to see how differently Shinji handles all of this. 15 episodes later or whatever. Even the Platinum Notes brought this up. This is, in case you couldn't figure it out, this is to show his character development or whatever. But
is it so? Well, I don't actually remember what's coming up, but when Kensuke calls Shinji on the phone here, and he's like, "I wanted to be a pilot too. Even told you got to be a pilot. What about me?" And then he gets cut off. Like, is that the last time Kensuke shows up in this show?
For real?
Really? I don't remember.
Like,
it's probably the last time he was relevant.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
I mean, I never, I'm never gonna be like, oh no, not the vital character Kensuke. But that is interesting. If this is kind of the last, like, I mean, I guess I'm kind of surprised in general that like, and that is kind of what leads me to like my talks that I had earlier in this podcast about like how much of Evangelion's plot shift is intentional versus how much of it was like a realization of their like material realities. Because like if this was always the direction the show is going to take, why did you even have a character like Kensuke in the first place? Because like he doesn't really narratively serve that important of a purpose. Like he doesn't do anything in this show that couldn't have been accomplished by another character, I guess.
He had some exposition in there, and he had that one scene early on when Shinji is wandering around and they find
right when he's like camping. Right, but I guess what I mean is like if that's the culmination of what that entire character was intended to be used for, like I guess what I mean is like it is impossible for me to believe that everything that is happening now at this point in Evangelion was 100% intentional if like there are characters that exist that were clearly like either like or characters that exist that like were never really quite used to their fullest potential in any meaningful way.
He was just filling out the like. It looks better to have two friends instead of one friend he's hanging out with.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think Kensuke was ever meant to be super important, but
no, I definitely don't believe so either. But what I mean is that in a different type of show, you can
you would have a big moment, right? Like,
well, no. I was actually going to go as far as like in other types of shows, you are allowed to have ancillary characters that don't do anything very important. Like. Because like the tone and the breadth of the show allows for characters that don't necessarily like matter much, but like the way Evangelion has framed itself now, especially in these later episodes, every character, like almost every character, is important in some way. Like even Hikari is important in like the vague sense of like she is important because that relates to Toji's.
You got like the bridge bunnies though.
I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I guess that is true. Those characters also don't really do jack shit. But,
they're just padding it out because you need bodies there, right?
You need bodies for a crew. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talks with Misato at the train station.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna mention because the phone that never rings. This time when he goes to the train station, he's having a pretty straightforward conversation with Masato. Like it's not like the weird thing where they stood there for an entire 50 seconds the last time.
They are
they hit a lot of the same beats as that episode, but Shinji's handling it like completely differently now, and he's rather than like, okay, I'm not gonna say he's not running away, but he's running away. He's running away because he like legitimately wants to at this point, right? Like he's made a decision. It may be the wrong decision, but
rather than like episode 4 where he was just like emotionally overwhelmed.
Right. This is something he's doing with conviction that he's decided to do on his own, right? Yes. So yeah, he quits, and of course, conveniently, as soon as he's about to get on the train or he gets out,
another angel attacks Tokyo 3.
Yes,
this big goofy-looking blob guy with flappy arms is here.
Yeah. Yes, the like weird
angel,
dismembered corpse angel.
Yeah, who kind of looks vaguely humanoid, which we haven't had in a while.
I mean,
he looks like a monster suit that has a man inside of it.
Yes. I definitely pointed out while I was watching. Oh, I was like, oh shit, a humanoid angel. We haven't seen one of those in a hot minute.
So, he's kind of got these stubby little limbs and his like melted skull face.
Yes,
right. Flappy ribbon arms.
Yeah, he starts fucking shit up.
Right, one blast pierces 18 out of 22 layers of armor.
Yes, shooting these very cross-shaped explosions because I guess Anno's just fully leading into this bullshit.
Well, that we saw that with the first angel that they fought had this.
Yes. Yeah, I'm saying they're finally back. I feel like when I think about what Evangelion is, all of them shoot crosses, right? Like,
So with Shinji gone, they have to obviously fight with Rei and Asuka.
Yeah. Make do with what they got. And
Asuka, they don't even bother going to the surface and just deploy in the geofront.
Yes, that is how desperate the situation is.
Yeah, so if we recall, Unit 0 got its arm ripped off not very long ago, so they've moved Rei to, and Unit 1's probably the better choice at this point anyway. They've moved Rei to Unit 1, and that does not go well.
Nope. Yep.
Does not work.
So much for those sync tests.
Yeah, so much for the idea of Rei being like this easy and stable and reliable pilot that we could just slot in anywhere we wish.
So Rei can't sync up, and naturally, since the dummy plugs are based on her, dummy plugs can't sync up. So Unit 1 is just dead weight at this point.
Gendo says, it's rejecting me.
Yeah.
Interesting choice of words. And so they don't have Unit 1, which leaves only Asuka, and she gets her chance here. This is the part I was this is the part I was talking about, right? Where she breaks literally every gun, every weapon.
I mean, it eventually. I mean, spoilers. It doesn't do jack shit.
In a number of Super Robot Wars games, this is Unit 2's ultimate attack.
Yes, but I will say this is a cool fucking moment. Like, this is one of my favorite tropes in like mecha anime is when like the robot is just like, I need the guns.
Everything.
Which guns? All of the guns.
Brings every gun.
It like it even does the trope of like literally like planting them in the ground, so like it doesn't even need time to reload. It's just fucking dumping the clip and then throwing them away.
Get another gun.
New guns. It's so good. She's fucking double fisting these rifles. They don't work. She throws them away. She double fists these bazookas. Like it's so good. Eventually, I mean, I don't know how much of this is Asuka's fault versus just the fault of like, at this point in this show, like, all conventional weapons have completely failed against like the angels. Just nothing works anymore. Like, and
she tries.
Yeah, she does. She does.
It does not end well.
Deploy the floppy ribbon arms.
Yes, so these slicey ribbon arms come out of the 14th angel and fuck her shit up.
Yep. Take off both arms and then go for the decapitation.
Yes, I was gonna say in the prior episode, they had to purge Unit 0's arm, and they said the line like, we haven't disconnected Rei from like
the like nerve connection. Yeah.
Yes, and Gendo's like, do it anyways, and we see her in the kind of pain one might be in if they suddenly had their arm cut off. Did they ever imply they managed to do that in time for Asuka?
Yeah, they cut to the control room, and Misato says, "Cut the nerves."
Okay, because I was about to say,
I think
Asuka there's a shot of Asuka grasping her shoulders in like extreme pain, and then they cut the nerves before it cuts the head off.
Right, because they cut Unit 2's head off, and I was about to say, I
mean,
what does that do?
She was still connected for the arms, though. But
yeah.
Right, the head would probably kill you if that's what they're implying.
The implication,
and like one of my favorite shots in this episode is just Shinji sitting in the shelter, and then the shelter is crushed by Unit 2's head,
the bloody dismembered head of Unit 2.
Yeah, that's gonna come up.
That's just the instant, like, oh shit.
Yeah, I am so glad you brought up that shot, Eero, because I was going to bring it up if you didn't. I think that shot is amazing. Like that shot is like why I really like episode. Like despite what I said at the beginning of this podcast, that I'm not like entirely sold on this trio of episodes as like my favorite or what I think are the best episodes of Evangelion. I will say I think episode 19 is undoubtedly one of the strongest episodes of this show, and it is because of like these like very striking like compositions that like are just like so good, and like they're so good in that mecha anime way of communicating the scale and magnitude of these battles, but also like in that very Eva way of communicating like the physical cost of these fights.
Yeah, it says a lot in that one shot without saying a word or doing anything in just a couple seconds.
Right.
Because if you think about where Shinji's at, what the implications of him seeing that means to him,
right?
Like so much happened, and you know what, and the decision that he has to ultimately make, like that all gets tied up in just one shot, and it's so good.
Yeah, it's magnificent. I wish I had looked it up before this podcast. I was very busy earlier today. I did not have time to really write up too many notes. I wish I knew what artist at Gainax had drawn that shot, because.
Who storyboarded that episode?
Or storyboarded, because of course my dumb brain is well, it must have been it looks good. It must have been Yoshinari, but like I don't want to apply credit without it actually, without aiming it at the right person. But yeah. So then we move on to Ray's turn to try and save the day, which
So Ray's still got Unit 0. That's pretty much all they got left at this point, and she kind of
Unit 0, and I like this bit that where I think it even surprises Gendo, right? Like, because I think, like, Ray gets into Unit 0, right? And, like, isn't it even Gendo who's like, wait, what is that in her hand, right?
Right, everyone's like, oh no, Ray!
Yeah,
right,
no,
Ray...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no,
Ray has a...
This was not a authorized operation here.
Right, this is a choice Ray's made on her own, which, again, I like these are, like... I think this is why I like this episode a lot, is because, like, I think I've said this in the past, where I think the best episodes of Evangelion, or even the best like pieces of science fiction storytelling, combine the characterization and the storytelling with the like fantastical like science fiction elements. And I think this is a great example of this. Is like Gendo did not authorize this plan. This is Rey like taking her own initiative to do what she's about to do. And what we find out is what she's done is that with her one-armed Unit 0, which isn't really going to accomplish much, especially if even Unit 2 couldn't. She has grabbed one of the fucking N2 bombs like a fucking shot put.
Yeah.
And is just fucking
just like
bomb rushing the Angel. And it tries to and forces her hand through its AT field.
Just like just smack this in your face.
Right. Try and detonate its core. Unfortunately we see that this angel has learned from the other angels and
has an armor shell.
Yeah, to protect its core. I will say that Rey also has the line earlier on,
right?
Before when the Unit 1 thing doesn't work, and she says she's going to get to Unit 0. She says the line that, "Look, like I kind of know the deal, but we'll continue to like play coy here." She says the line, "I can die, I can be replaced," and
right.
In case you thought there wasn't some weirdness going on with Rey and who she truly is, well, feel free to add that to the pile of implications about her true identity.
Yeah, and so Shinji talks with Kaji, who's just
watering the plants.
Yep. Hey, I'd love to die between Misato's boobs, but
melons
are here good too.
You know what? I have to just point out in the dub, he says, "I'd rather be between Misato's melons."
Okay. Thanks,
which is
dub.
the proper
I mean,
way
the
to handle
dub,
that line.
the dub also handled thermal expansion properly, so you know.
All right, good. Look, hey, props to them.
I should check the Netflix to see if they they did that.
That is exactly the kind of like Yakuza localization team ass like translation I would hope for.
Yeah, so Kaji is watering his melons because he literally has nothing else to do.
Right. What the fuck is Kaji going to do at this point, right? There's nothing he can do.
So
he says that the powers that be have like kind of gotten wise to his antics and have, you know, basically kicked him out. So
and he's like and he kind of spins it into the last bit that Shinji needs here because he's like, I'm here watering the melons because there's literally nothing I can do, but there's something you can do, buddy.
Yeah, it's weird, and I guess this is kind of the culmination of like that dialogue I had earlier about like Kaji being the only other like older male character that like Shinji can speak to, because weirdly enough, Kaji of all people gives like, it's a more subdued version than most, but you know, to kind of bring back my old thesis that at its core Evangelion is a mecha anime. Somehow Kaji of all people is the one who gives like the patented like heroic speech to Shinji. Like, he is giving the Kamina to Simone speech. The like, you gotta keep fighting, kid. Like, you gotta get back in the cockpit. Like, and it's a much more subdued, much more desperate version of it that kind of, you know, plays well within the themes that Ava's played in. But like, at its core, this speech is still like, motherfucker, somebody's got to do it, and that person is you. So, you know, either you are going to rise to the occasion, or this is it for the human race. So, you know, and make your choice.
And he runs into the Ava cage.
Yeah, so he heads back to Nerve. You know, Gendo's like, "What are you doing here?" And
get some great shot mirroring from episode 1. I think.
Oh yeah. So this kind of, I love the. So like in the notes, they did kind of describe this set of episodes as like the climax of the series, and I feel like this is where we get the full circle question of, you know, Shinji asking why, you know, trying to figure out why does he pilot the Evangelion, and at first it was, well, I guess I have to do it because nobody else can, and then later on it was, well, I do it because I want my dad's approval, and now he's doing it because. Yeah,
if he doesn't, everyone he knows will die.
No, like, this is the thing.
Well,
like,
there's that, but like, he's still doing it. It feels like he's doing it now because now he wants to. Like he knows the stakes.
Yeah. Well,
he wants to save everybody. Like this is like
and when we say want, we want to make sure when we say want, we say want in the sense of like he has made the logical and like rational choice. Like that
it's his decision.
It is his decision. You know,
right.
like in many ways, like Shinji's arc is a subdued version of, I mean, like many things, it is maybe a more subtle version of the classic mecha protagonist arc, right? Like, boy meets robot, boy enters robot. Like, boy initially pilots robot out of desperation. Eventually, boy questions why he pilots robot. Boy leaves robot. Eventually, boy returns to robot with his resolve hardened and the realization that this is his destiny. You know, fucking Amuro, Simone, like so many goddamn mecha pilots I could list off that like have all gone through this arc, like of like the eventual realization that like if you want to use the whole robots as a metaphor for our bodies, this is where Shinji has finally come to terms with like his body, right? The Unit 1, like this is, for better or worse, this is who he is, this is what he has to become. Like,
Yep.
The time is now.
Instead of shouting at Gendo, why did you bring me here? He shouts, I'm the pilot of Unit 1.
Yes. Yep. Like that is like, in a weird way, maybe in a weird fucked up way, one of the show's most triumphant moments.
This is a really triumphant moment until like a couple minutes later.
Shinji suits up, and while he's doing that,
like the classic, oh shit, they've busted into the main control room.
Yes,
like, the Angel has a mainstay of like Super Sentai.
Yes.
The angel has breached central dogma and is literally in the control room about to fire its face laser
When,
at everybody.
fucking Unit 1 comes in from the side. By
Yeah.
God, by God, is that, what do I hear? Is that Unit 1's music? By God, Unit 1 is entering the ring. Comes in here
Fucking
with
dicks him in the face.
That's
decks
a
him in
great,
the face.
great
Unit 1
shot.
Great sequence.
Unit 1 with the run-in.
Like, gets onto the launch pad and like
Yeah.
So there's
fucking against the wall as they're riding it up.
There's a
Shouts
reason
to
why-
Masato immediately gets it, launches Elevator 5. So good.
There's a reason why this episode is called a man's battle. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good fight.
Yeah.
It's not just it's not quite the brutal, just murder of the last episode.
No, but you do start getting the music that plays in Evangelion whenever the Aven units get particularly murdery. So
stuck with me here is also like the one shot of Shinji's face where he is like grinning in bloodlust. You know, like
It's, again,
just like Amuro smiled when he killed 12 Doms in the span of 60 seconds. Just like Simone smiled when he realized that the drill lives on not just in his heart but on his back. Like, eventually, a boy becomes a man, and a man realizes his true destiny.
Sure.
Yeah. So Shinji's doing all right until
loses an arm, but
but like no, like it's pretty great. Like you like Shinji is like totally fucking the shit out of this angel until the pesky 1 minute battery life thing comes into play.
Oops, forgot to plug in.
Right, forgot to plug it in.
Oh darn!
Guess. But
yep, and so while he's incapacitated, the angel starts having his way with him and reveals
open, like at the chest,
it
reveals
rips his chest open.
Reveals that under the armor, Unit 1 has a big core, just like the angel.
Yes, has a very conspicuously angel-like core in its center.
And but of course, before before Unit 1 can be destroyed, it's time for one more round of Berserk mode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking, this is fantastic.
This is a really incredibly done scene.
Yeah, this is like...
It's very impressive. This
visually
scene.
One of the strongest scenes I think the show's done in. Like,
it's similar to the first time we saw the Berserk mode, but this is the full extended, unhinged. Uncut.
Yeah. We just like you fucking see that, like, one is like fucking like crawling on all fours,
right?
Like it is like pouncing on the angel.
Yeah. It like attaches it like regenerates its whole arm by just throwing the ribbons on, and
like pieces of its armor like start to fall off because like it is like growing as it like eats the angel. Which we should mention, not only does it beat the angel, it starts eating it.
Yes,
there's a really incredible scene like cut here where like it just Eva just Unit 1 just like throws its AT field with a slash. Cuts open the other angel, and its blood splatters on the inside of its own AT field.
Yes. It's magnificent. It's really fantastically animated. I will say specifically, I specifically remember that Yo Yoshinari did not animate this scene because I looked it up.
Right.
Another Gainax veteran did.
Mitsuo Ito.
Yes, Mitsuo Ito. Yes, he animated that.
Yeah.
Ito.
So I have the notes here. The storyboards and director were Masayuki.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, Masayuki.
Yeah, he's a Gainax vet.
And the chief animator was Takeshi Honda. So
for this episode,
but yeah, it's a very another very brutal scene. I was going to say they have the bit where it breaks off of the armor. And it's like, the armor wasn't for protection. The armor was to restrain it or whatever.
Yeah, my favorite fucking trope in the goddamn world.
I thought you would like that one.
The restraint locks, but
I thought you would like that one, G. So I wanted to bring that up.
He
eats the angel.
They say it's taking the S2 engine into itself.
Yes.
Which
which
is like-
Right. So that's the part I did slightly get confused by. When did they ever say that the Angel had the S2 engine? Like
right now.
right. Like was it literally not brought up until
okay,
now?
I think don't quote me on this. I'm like totally maybe making shit up. When they in like episode 3 when Shinji killed the big floppy fish thing, and they captured most of it alive. I think that's where they said the S2 engine.
Wait, was in the fish?
I don't remember that.
Maybe
you could be right, but
I could be.
I
don't know.
Point
check the
is,
tape on that
even
one.
by the end of episode 19, I still don't actually know what an S2 engine is, other than a vague power-up for Unit 1.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll get to what it actually is very soon. But
Right, I guess.
I don't even know if it's really that big
it's
of
a thing in the Angels.
I don't even.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, it does serve a purpose, but I don't know if it's really that that big a deal.
Well,
Yeah.
anyways, point is, the episode ends. We are kind of left in awe of Unit 1's bestial nature. It lets out this guttural cry. It's
Right. Okay.
It's all very good.
In episode 5, they pulled it out of that one angel's corpse and sent it to be studied at one of the other branches.
Oh,
and
so that's what they were trying to put into Unit 4.
Yeah. Okay.
And they dubbed it the. Okay, got it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
All
right.
I believe the thing is like the kanji. If you like, there's a double meaning with the word where it could mean engine or organ.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
That makes sense.
Interesting.
All right. Yeah, and so that kind of wraps it up. I think we had one more bit with Gendo giving his all according to Keikaku.
Yes.
Like, starts.
This is only the beginning.
Right.
Whatever master plan he's had all along. We've already kind of learned that Gendo's really the one pulling the strings, even though he's been technically answering to people or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But
Sayla won't stay quiet for this.
yeah. And yeah, that wraps up the fourth child arc thing here. A lot of interesting stuff to come in the remaining episodes.
I don't know. You said this was the climax, so I assume it's all downhill from here.
Well, some stuff is going to happen, but
I'm not a fool, Jel. I can tell this episode is probably the last episode of this anime that actually looks good. It's all panning stills from here on out. Don't lie to me.
They did some work at the director's cut.
It's all panning stills and talking silhouettes.
Yeah, they touched some stuff up in the director's cut, if I recall. So, but yeah, we're going to and then next week we're going to do another 4 episodes. We'll have the recap episode.
Sure.
Again, the second one, but yeah, we only got 3 episodes of the podcast left, I think, right? So
yeah,
I mean, this was always a shorter series.
We're getting close.
We'll finally be done.
Yeah.
Yes, and then hopefully, naturally, our podcast will be the ironclad testament to the Eva discourse, and nobody will ever have to write or talk about Evangelion ever again.
Yes, let us be the definitive podcast, because I'm tired of talking about the Eva discourse right now.
You and me both.
You and I think all of us. I know this podcast has been running long, and Eero mentioned this in the notes. Is this a discourse we want to have now, or do we want to save this for another?
Discourse about the discourse? Are we talking about?
Look, I mean, Eero, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
The conversation, and apologies to our listeners for holding our production minute right in the middle of this podcast. Is that something we just want to say for another podcast, or is that something we feel is imperative to get to now?
We'll bring it up later.
Okay.
What's that, Iro?
Well, yeah, we'll get to it another time.
Okay, yeah.
I think the way because of the nature of the narrative of this show, I think this, even as somebody who doesn't know the exact details of how this show ends, I have this sneaking suspicion that this show's story progression will give us plenty of time to get into that discourse.
Yes.
At a later time.
Gasp! That discourse. What could he mean?
We will shelve it for the time being.
Yeah. Yeah, and we kind of did some big picture talk earlier. I don't know if you guys want to give really quick sentence or 2 final thoughts here on this block, just to wrap things up.
No, I mean,
I guess 1 or 2 sentences. As someone who's as the person who's new to this or to this show, I guess, talking through it, I actually really do like episodes 18 and 19. I think they're very strong episodes. I think in many ways 18 and 19 are like a miniature encapsulation of like this show's like myriad strengths.
Yeah.
I think that like they are the episodes that I think, to me, anyways, based on my sensibilities, like recognize like that Eva is at its best when it is like balancing between its like moody introspective character dramas and the kind of what the also what are like the things that the show is saying about like the mecha genre as a whole, and kind of like intertwining those in a very like, I think, organic way. I think the example I brought up earlier was Rey taking her own initiative to go for this big sacrifice against the angel. I think that like those two episodes are filled with these kind of moments of like the moody introspective characterization is intertwined with the like striking and like visually bold science fiction mecha action, and
Right.
as a result, I think that again, I'm not sure if I'd go as far as to say it's like my favorite episode or the best episodes, but they are undeniably some of the strongest this show has seen so far.
Pyro?
Yeah. Basically that. Like, these episodes have a bit of everything. I think when people think about Ava, like in the past tense, it tends to be this block of the show.
Well,
Yeah.
I'd almost go as far as I feel like when I hear people talk about Ava, they are talking about like your episodes 4s and your episodes 17s that have no mecha whatsoever and are just pure moody.
Who you're listening to talking about Evangelion?
Yeah, well,
I'm just saying I've read those takes. I've read the takes that are like Evangelion would have been even better with zero mecha, and believe me, those people are also on my list of people I'd like to strangle through my computer screen. But that's a discussion for another time.
Like these episodes have the introspective character study stuff and the like big mechs smashing things, and not. I mean, I'm being reductive, but not just mech stuff, but like these episodes have the mech stuff in the very particular Evangelion flavor that does not necessarily exist in other shows. Like,
right, like
these episodes show the ways Evangelion is a mech show in its own special way.
Yes, I definitely grant that much to it. Kind of just like I keep saying, but like just the like kind of the bold visual characterization of the aesthetics of how Evangelion decides to approach its kind of its mecha sensibilities. I think.
Yeah, even like the fights themselves are not like dancing through the sky with beam sabers. It's like, I'm gonna choke you and then eat you. Like, and that feels more appropriate for the tone of the show, right? Like,
yes,
it all goes very well together. I'll just add, I was curious, like, and this is something I don't want to get into too much right now, but I just want to start putting this out there as we approach the end of the show. I was curious how much of like emotional impact or like weight I would feel watching it again 20 years later and knowing everything I know about the show. And comparing that to, because I still feel like I felt it watching these episodes again, and maybe not quite as strong as the first time because I know it was going to happen, but comparing that to the pretenders to the throne of shows that want to be Evangelion.
Like Evangelion, but bad?
Yeah, so, most recent being like Darling in the Franxx or something like that.
Sure.
Seeing how much the actual plot, the robot fighting, the character development, how everything is intertwined and supports each other in a way so that like when we get those like great shots of Unit 2's severed head crashing into the shelter, like that means something, right? Like,
right, like the idea that works well there is that there is both like it has a lot of impact because it is a bold visual image, but also it has a lot of impact because of like the characterization,
the narrative context behind that image.
Yes,
right. We've seen and we've built up to that over 19 episodes.
Totally. I think like the best like not hell, I wouldn't even say just the best mecha anime do that. I think the best anime do that, right? Like
Right.
because it is a visual medium. Like and so I think the best moments are when you have like combine the visuals with the characterization and the storytelling to create something that is like because here's the thing, right? Like if we want to talk like to the pretenders of the throne, like Darling and the Franxx, here's the thing. Like anyone can go read my post on that show. I fucking hate that show from like the deepest well of my soul. But I also recognize that show does have visually striking moments. It
Right.
does. It really does. You cannot deny that show at times does look very good. The difference is that it has not earned the emotional impact. Like, you
Exactly.
like,
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Right, you compare like the triumphant moments in Darling the Franxx to like the triumphant moments in Evangelion, or even the triumphant moments in like something like Gurren Lagann, right? Like even a show that is like even a show that is like quote unquote or like Gunbuster, right? Like these shows that are quote unquote dumber than Evangelion, right? Like they still resonate because like they have like succeeded in regardless of the complexity of the narrative, what they have done is succeeded in making you care. Like
Right.
it's not just cool that like Noriko is fucking kicking through like 1,000 goddamn aliens. It's the fact that it is specifically Noriko who is kicking through 1,000 goddamn aliens. Like, and I think that's kind of like what Evangelion does so well compared to, as you said, a lot of its pretenders.
Exactly. And I think you said it before, it earns these moments so that when they happen, they have impact and meaning. And I think it was good for me to, with these episodes, reaffirm that it wasn't just me being a dumb teenager at the time. The show's actually pretty damn good.
Totally.
So I appreciated seeing that in this block. That show's still good. It wasn't just me being a dumb kid years ago.
I will say this podcast is going to be a long one, I guess, but so I'll try to keep this last bit short. Is that I think I've made it pretty clear that I've been largely enjoying my time with Evangelion. I will admit, I think I am enjoying it on this, like, how do I put it? I am kind of enjoying it as, like, a fan of the genre. I am enjoying it as, like, someone who is, like, kind of looking at this show and be like, wow, these are, like, really well put together moments.
In an academic sense?
Yes, in an academic sense, but I do have to admit, I don't feel a particularly strong emotional connection to the show so far, and like maybe the last few episodes will like really turn that around. But I will say that like emotionally, to speak back to the well of my soul metaphor, like I wouldn't say the moments like there has never been anything in Evangelion that has quite made me like feel the way I do having watched something like Gunbuster or Gurren Lagann.
But like,
and like some of that is just down to like,
but like it shouldn't, right? Because it's totally completely different.
Of course, like it's down to personal sensibilities. But I mean, like, but what I mean is not just that. But what I mean, like, when I say emotion, I mean like made me emotionally care in that way. Whether that is through like theatrics and triumph, or through like something more subtle and dour. I guess like I guess what I'm saying is that like when I think of show like anime like Gunbuster or Gurren Lagann, like I feel like an emotion welling in me, like that reminds me of like the way I felt watching those. Whereas when I think about Evangelion, I kind of think of it more from the clinical standpoint of like, yeah, this is a well-made show. It is a well-made show, a well-told story with interesting characters. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I feel a particularly strong emotional connection to its characters.
I actually feel. I feel, and it's worth pointing out, a lot of the same people working on these shows. When we talk about Gunbuster and Gurren Lagann and like the emotional, because even something with Gurren Lagann, which maybe is not like intellectually intelligent, is very emotionally. I think I'm not going to say complex either, but there's definitely you form an emotional connection with the show, right?
It's emotionally competent. Like it's not just playing tricks on you.
Yeah.
It earns its moments.
It does hit you in the gut a couple times. I feel very similar about all those shows, to be honest. I think that's something, again, we can get into deeper once Evangelion's over. But I can feel the DNA, even though they arrive at the destination in very different ways. And I wouldn't
opposite ends of the orange train line.
Yeah, and I would say when I'm talking about being like emotional, like I'm not talking about like I'm moved to tears or something. It's like I'm talking about just like and it's hard. It's because it's emotional. It's hard to explain with words, but that gut feeling that you get from watching it of like you're
Totally.
like it has meaning to it. It's not like this is sad and I'm going to cry type of emotional, but like
I guess I do understand. I guess for me it's like look, I love those shows. Of course, Shinji is on some level an infinitely more complex character than like Noriko or Simon or Simone, but like I guess for me it's like if you're asking me like how emotionally invested I am in like the struggles and triumphs of the specific characters, like I guess I am still looking at Evangelion as a piece of media than as like something that speaks to me in the way that like some other Gainax works have.
Right. And eventually it's going to come down to...
Isn't that kind of like a decision you made before you started watching the show based on how people spoke about the show?
I mean, like, yes, of course I had my perceptions going into Evangelion, but I think if you listen to this podcast, I have been exceedingly fair to this show. Like, I have been very open and very forgiving.
I do think you've been very fair, G. But I think even you admit there'd be at least a little bit of preconception coming into this. But
there always will be.
Yeah,
but,
that's normal. And like I was about to say,
I think I have done my best to give Evangelion its chance to like win me over with Shinji and Misato and the others in the same way that I feel about characters like Noriko or Simone.
Yeah, and I was about to say, eventually it's also going to come down to there's going to be preference at some point, right? So
of course, I'm not trying to imply like this is like a mark against the show. I guess the whole reason I went into this tangent in the first place is just kind of to explain my own personal feelings on the show. That,
right.
Like, I recognize its merits, I recognize its accomplishments, but
yeah.
Unless things like very dramatically change in these next few episodes, or like an end of Evangelion, like this will sit in the like on the level of the pantheon of like genuinely good mecha shows, but not like the shows that I literally carry in my heart on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Well,
we'll have plenty shows on that level.
Yes, okay, fine. I admit that is definitely my own weird obsession with the genre. So
yeah, well, plenty more to say on that before this is all over, but we got to wrap up now. So
yes, we do. Apologies.
Let's call it a day on that one. We'll again, apologies for the technical difficulties, everyone. We will do our best to patch that up later. But yeah. That will do it then for this episode. Let's get to our housekeeping, our very long list of housekeeping. Check us out at theglorioblog.com. Follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. You can check out our other podcasts on this feed, the Glorio Chat, where we talk about anime, current anime events, and other airing things.
Yes, look forward to our next Glorio Chat podcast. We're going to be talking about, is that going to be our end of season thoughts? Or is that going to be a little bit of our beginning of the next season thoughts?
Technically, yes, but I think it's going to be more end of season thoughts. We've been talking about new stuff too, so it'll probably be some of that. And you can listen to Legend of the Glorio Heroes with Iroh and G, talking about Legend of the Galactic Heroes, the greatest show of all time, and
now you're on brand.
Yes, and then the Glorio's King of the Kaiju with Chris and Collins. I'm going to start nagging them to get another episode out soon, but they talk about old kaiju movies, so hopefully we'll get a new episode of that, but check that out soon. And you can check us out on many different places where podcasts are at: iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. We're on Podbean. We also upload videos to YouTube, so you can check us out there. And I think that's pretty much it.
I think somehow, like the Wu-Tang Clan, introducing every member, you have somehow managed to nail it all.
I mean, yeah, I think that's everything.
Yep. Well, everything except one last thing here. So, next time on Neon Genesis Evanglorio, we'll talk about episode 20 of The Shape of Hearts and Humans, or Leading a Story to Oral Stage. Episode 21, The Birth of Nerve, or He Was Aware That He Was Still a Child. Episode 22, Staying Human, or Don't Be. Episode 20, and finally episode 23, Tears or Ray 3. And I guess we're still doing fan service. So see you next time!